President Obama addressed the nation today, and it looks like he's listened to us. Perhaps he's even been watching the Young Turks, because we've been saying for the last week or two that he should, or possibly must, ask Congress for the authorization necessary to launch some sort of military attack against Syria, if that's the direction we're going to go in as a country. And because about 90% of the population isn't in favor of it, let's have a bit of a debate before we start dropping bombs. So he said this.
Having made my decision as Commander-in-Chief based on what I am convinced is our national security interests, I'm also mindful that I'm the President of the world's oldest constitutional democracy. I've long believed that our power is rooted not just in our military might, but in our example as a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And that's why I've made a second decision. I will seek authorization for the use of force from the American people's representatives in Congress.
Now, that was the major news, and look, this is news because we've been waiting every day, every hour. There was the possibility that we would see the news that we had attacked Syria, and people were not having it. But he will go before Congress. Now, he, in that statement before the country, also reiterated why we're going in, and just as with John Kerry earlier this week, it was mainly about the red line, about the use of chemical weapons and things of that sort. So he said this.
This attack is an assault on human dignity. It also presents a serious danger to our national security. It risks making a mockery of the global prohibition on the use of chemical weapons. It could lead to escalating use of chemical weapons or their proliferation to terrorist groups who would do our people harm. In a world with many dangers, this menace must be confronted.
And later on, he went on to say, make no mistake, this has implications beyond chemical warfare, although the bulk of his statements, at least in terms of why we would be attacking, do have to do with chemical weapons. And as I said, that is very similar to what John Kerry was saying earlier. Now, of course, rational human beings can oppose or support the use of force to try to limit the use of chemical weapons in the future. We're going to be talking later on in this program about why chemical weapons are so special and why they're considered so harmful and so scary. But this is good news, I think, and really, when this goes to Congress, and John Boehner is saying that the week of September 9th, there will be a debate and there will be a vote, this is going to be an interesting test. Both of the American population's opposition to war. I mean, we're coming off of Iraq and Afghanistan, and I like to imagine that we have a higher bar than we used to in terms of what it should take to get us to become involved in these foreign adventures. But also, it'll be a test for our representatives. Now, they have been attacking Obama over the course of the last week, 10 days or so, saying, you have to come before us, but also this is foolhardy. Why would you attack? Why are you using half measures? Basically attacking him in every way possible. And yet we know that our Congress, both Republicans and Democrats, for the most part, usually pretty supportive of war. I mean, that's the benefit, I suppose, of the military-industrial complex for them. They've spent the money, and the representatives do their bidding. So it'll be interesting to see how they mesh that desire to please their monetary benefactors with the fact that the vast majority of the country is not having it. Now, with that said, the American population wasn't necessarily in favor of attacking Iraq before the propaganda machine wound up. And so it'll be interesting to see if you have people in the media and people, the political representatives in our country going out and making the case for war, because the American people usually receptive to that. Hopefully not in this case. And also we have some anonymous Democratic aides and things like that in the House saying it's not entirely for sure what's going to happen when this goes before Congress. Now, as I said, they tend to like war, but on the other hand, this is one of the least accomplished and least productive Congresses in the history of our country. And so even doing something like going to war might be beyond them in terms of coming to some sort of compromise. Now, I believe that many of the Republicans will be in favor of this. It seems like the Democrats at this point are split. Nancy Pelosi saying that she supports this, many other Democrats coming out against it. Although even those Democrats were mainly in favor of him coming before them, before launching the attack. So we don't know yet how that debate will go. We will be keeping you clued in. So of course, stay tuned in to the Insert Witty Show name here broadcasts in the coming weeks, and we will let you know what happens.